Hello, I'd like to welcome everybody here this evening. It's a beautiful turnout to honor a great man and to get some work done for the city. I'll be sitting in for the mayor this evening, who's on vacation, but will be joining us remotely. We'll do a roll call. We have Molly, Ren, and Dan here. Paloma will probably show up any minute. Justice has been excused. We have Chris White, our city administrator, and Nick Ward-Willis, our city attorney, here as well. Could we please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So tonight we'll start the meeting, or deviate from our normal form, for a community segment to honor the retirement of our chief, Gary Van Voorhees. I'd like to invite Gary and his wife Lori to please join us up at the podium. That's not for me, is it? Okay, I'd like to start by reading a recognition, and it's a bit lengthy, but it's to honor a great man who's done great service for this community. We're going to start this evening's City Council meeting with a well-deserved recognition of our outgoing Fire Chief, Gary Van Voorhees, who has served as Beacon's first career fire chief since 2013. Gary's career in the fire service started more than 5 decades ago when he first volunteered for the Village of Fishkill Volunteer Fire Department while attending John Jay High School. After graduating from Dutchess Community College with a degree in criminal justice, Gary took the position of a career firefighter with the city of Peoria, Illinois, where he was subsequently promoted to the ranks of engineer, captain, battalion chief, division chief, and assistant chief. Upon his retirement from the city of Peoria in 2013, Gary returned to the Hudson Valley to become fire chief in the City of Beacon Fire Department, serving as the first career chief in the department's history. During his tenure as fire chief, Gary helped to improve and professionalize the fire department, including by obtaining grants to increase staffing and purchase needed equipment. He oversaw the consolidation of the city's 3 small fire stations into 1 central fire station, which is now being renovated and expanded after 17 years of planning and studies, and will be completed in the fall of 2024. Gary was instrumental in helping to transition the city's fire service from what was once a predominantly volunteer department into primarily career department that is supported by the volunteers. He increased the daily shift of firefighters from 3 to 4 and was critical in negotiating a five-year contract with the firefighters union, which has greatly improved relations between the union and the city. He worked to create 4 career lieutenant positions for improved training and command response leadership as well. Gary oversaw the acquisition of new fire apparatus and was known for his careful stewardship of city resources in maintaining his annual budget. He always had money left over in the budget, for the most part. When the city faced a growing crisis 2 years ago due to the lack of ambulance transport services, Gary helped the city to develop a solution and was responsible for setting up agreements with advanced life support and basic life support providers, making Beacon a model for emergency medical care in the region. Gary's leadership over the past decade helped to modernize, improve, and professionalize the city's fire department, which is critical to our residents. In recognition of his outstanding and dedicated service to this city, I am delighted to present Fire Chief Gary Voorhees with this recognition of his public service. Now I'll ask our current chief, our new chief, Tom Lucchese, to please come up and join us here to present the flag. And I will first read this. You can take that. This is to certify that the accompanying flag was flown over the United States Capitol. At the request of the Honorable Patrick Ryan, Member of Congress, this flag was flown in honor and recognition of the City of Beacon Fire Chief Gary Van Voorhees, and in appreciation for his outstanding service to the community.
Thank you for everyone coming out this evening. Oftentimes in the shadows behind every married firefighter is a spouse that quite frankly puts up with all the time and attention that their spouse spends away from them, giving the fire service the time it requires. This evening, in addition to honoring Chief Van Voorhis, I would like to recognize Mrs. Van Voorhis for her unwavering support. Without that, there is no doubt in my mind that the chief will not be able to dedicate the time he has over the last 10 years to the City of Beacon. On the behalf of the firefighters from the City of Beacon Fire Department, we would like to recognize Chief Van Voorhis for his 10 years of service as Chief of the Department. This plaque reads the following: presented to Chief Gary Van Voorhis in recognition to your 10 years of service as Chief of the Department for the City of Beacon Fire Department from 2013 to 2023. Your knowledge, commitment, and leadership has shaped the department into what it is today. Congratulations on your retirement. Okay. So it's especially common in the Northeast of the United States to traditionally do a walkout on a firefighter's last day of his retirement. Traditionally, this is done in front of a firehouse. Today, we're doing it in City Hall, and we're modifying it due to the weather outside. Those in attendance who would like to participate are asked to line up in two lines as we help escort Chief Van Voorhis out the door. So if you would like to participate, please get up. Oh, I apologize. My apologies. Chief Van Voorhis is going to have a few words before we begin.
That was just a test.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you to everybody here tonight, coming tonight. I'm deeply honored. Did not expect this, but this is what our city got a new chief. This is the kind of chief he is, how professional he is, and we're going. So I got a lot of thank yous. First of all, to the city elected officials and appointed officials, members past and present. George, you've been here since I've been here. Thank you. Not just that you got elected, that you supported the fire department in a different sense through the contract, union labor negotiations, and other issues that we've had to deal with the change. The biggest thing I'd like to thank is we went through COVID. As the police and firemen, we were here every day. We didn't work from home. We didn't work part-time. We worked full-time, and I'm happy to say we were pretty healthy through that situation. Also, I want to thank the City of Beacon department heads and their staff. We have like a shared service here. I mean, we worked really well together with DPW and the rest of the department heads to get the job done. And also tonight, I want to thank the citizens of Beacon, not only just for supporting the fire department, but supporting in the sense of the way that I have many calls for job well done on EMS calls, fire calls. It's overwhelming when a citizen comes up to you, waves to you, says, "Thank you, Chief, your guys did a great job." Another thank you I have is to my second family, which is the fire department. Not only here, I mean, 46 years, I could tell you stories. It's not every day that it's a wonderful day. We have our bad days, meaning things don't go well, and we have our good days where it does go well. But But with that, not just our mutual aid companies, they bring equipment, they bring manpower to help us. We cannot handle, and no one in the city, volunteer fire department combination, can handle a big working fire without mutual aid. But also tonight, we have some county cars here, chiefs here too, not just firefighters, there's some chiefs here. It's also the chiefs of Poughkeepsie here too. We have like a web net, we get together and we meet and we discuss different things to survive that situation. I want to thank the City of Beacon volunteer firefighters. Even before I got here, I got a phone call when I was in Peoria, Illinois, on a lieutenant called me and goes, "What size t-shirt you get, Chief?" on that. And I want to thank the retired career firefighters who, even though they're retired, they still support me, help me out, and also our career firefighters that work every day and night on that. From day one, I had support from all of these groups, and it shows that we've made a positive changes in the last 10 years. Then last, I want to thank my family. Okay, this starts a long time ago when I was 16, a volunteer. My mother in Fishkill would get up in the middle of the night and take us to the fires because we couldn't drive yet. Okay, to my family now, like you said, Lori, I could talk on behalf of all the firefighters. You know, I cannot make it as a good leader or even as a firefighter without the members helping me, but it's from day one. I think our biggest thing we're looking forward to is the scanner, the pager can go off at night now. We don't have to listen to fires for 46 years on that. Lori doesn't hear them all. She's kind of used to it now. She doesn't get up on that. So our life as a firefighter is not an 8-to-5 job. It's long, has rotating schedule, affects the family life at our home. So I want to say this, but I'm saying this on behalf of all the firefighters who are here tonight. I'm sorry we missed out on the many holidays with our family. I'm sorry we missed the many evening meals, birthdays, sporting events, and school events. My son is actually here tonight, can hear that. He knows about that. And how about today? How about, I'm sorry, the nights we missed, the stormy nights. We're at the firehouse protecting the citizens, but we cannot protect our homes. I was deployed to Katrina for 2 weeks down there, and I couldn't even call home on that. And I'm sorry that we as firefighters weren't there for all the family emergencies. So if we're not there for the family emergencies, who's taking care of that? I want to thank our spouses. They're the ones that took care of those emergencies when we couldn't, and for being there when we could not. And again, I am very humbled tonight with this occasion tonight. Thank you very much.
So if you want to invite them to get ready, and then we'll take.
All right, we'll try this again. Can I have two lines form up, please?
I think they're getting a photo, so I'm just kidding.
Yes, 911 to City Beacon respond for a tree or pole on fire, possibly hit by lightning.
We can move down.
Fire response
Attention! Present arms.
Thank you for everybody attending today.
Order arms.
Please be healthy and safe and happy in your future career. Thank you.
Ready to resume?
Ready to resume, sir.
Okay, next on our agenda, we will have public comment, which is, you can speak on any subject except for the public hearing, which we have one, which is in relation to our capital program for the years 2024 through 2028. So you have, anyone is welcome to join, to speak at the microphone for up to 3 minutes. And we have one person signed up, and that would be Teresa Kraft.
That was great. Thanks, Gary. Tonight you're approving local laws and resolutions, and number 77. It surprised me there was no in-depth discussion at last week's workshop on the potential awarding of the Community Investment Program applicants into full detail for the public. The key words in tonight's packet speaks volumes. City-owned. Expand ongoing stage improvements at the city-owned Veterans Building to include a public address system for the front courtyard. Is that not putting the city's money into a city's project? One would think this expense would be allocated out of the city's budget and not taken away from the publicly funded community enriching programs that others so well deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Despite the fact that there's no one else on the list, is there anybody else that would like to speak for 3 minutes? Please state your name.
Clark Gebman, 2 Wilson Street. So it is now officially the political season that occurs once every 4 years for the election of the mayor and the entire council. It is now also the second election that there'll be no opposition to the vote. And so the acclamation of a council occurs in a period in which there is a $40 million worth of capital construction underway and 25 more million proposed. It is a story of New York in many ways, and not simply the story of this community or this council or the individuals who choose to serve. However, at the same time, the question calls for a review of a 3-decade kind of long year style of government to whom the public has not grasped the issues that confront the council time and time again. And I dare say that the council itself has not grasped many of the important issues that confront the community, to no fault of their own specifically, but rather to the complexities of circumstances that require a more professional, more sought more competitive council where a wage justifies intelligence beyond a common citizen's understanding of the challenges of government. It is an opportunity over the month of July for the citizens of this community to sign a referendum to call for a different approach to the city government. It'll come and it'll go. I, for one, will not stand in favor. I will not write. I will not champion, because it's been 5,500 and some days since I told the city that the damage the city's done to my family at the rate of $1,000 a day
15
remains
seconds.
intact. And so I don't consider myself to be eligible. And in that context, I encourage the citizens of this city to consider what kind of government they might want to consider and put it on the ballot for November. Thank you.
Thank you. So there's no one here in person. Is there, Ben, is there anyone remotely who'd like to join the opportunity to have comment?
If you're joining us on Zoom and you'd like to make a comment, please use the raise hand option at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you're joining us by phone, you can press *9. If you're watching on YouTube, you will need to join the Zoom by visiting beaconny.gov. And as of now, there are no hands raised on Zoom.
All right, thank you. So we'll go on to the public hearing, and this is a public hearing, as I said earlier, for the 2024 through 2028 capital program. Chris, would you like to fill us in on this?
Certainly. We had, every year we have to pass a 5-year capital program, which we put in by the end of May. We've discussed the capital program that we've put together for the general budget, the water and sewer funds, and then we've done a number of workshops on that. That spending plan is in your packet. It's also online, and tonight we have to do a public hearing, which we've duly noticed, and would then be able to vote on your capital program on July 10th. So as long as we pass this by the end of July, we're good. Yeah, and this is basically, a capital program is for larger expenditures that have more than a short useful life. So we have an operating budget that we do later in the year, and then the capital program is for things like buildings, investments in large vehicles and equipment, and other things that have a multi-year use, like the firehouse. And again, the firehouse is the lion's share of what we're proposing for the 2024 to finish up the funding for that project.
Great, thank you. So if anyone would like to comment regarding this capital plan, you're welcome to do so. We have the first person signed up is Teresa Kraft. You don't, oh, you crossed that out? Do you have something to say?
No, I just want to say that I'm glad it's a living document that could be changed along the way, and is that not true?
I'm sorry,
We were just talking about whether the motion opened the public hearing.
Okay.
Oh, did we not have a motion? Sorry.
Second?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Well done.
So I've read all the numbers closely, and I know that this is, and hopefully it is a living and breathing document that could be changed and altered along the way. And hopefully it is also a meeting that there is a need to put more funds and work into our water and sewer, because the city is being bombarded by new residents, even though people say the numbers have not changed. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak?
So as to the topic of spending the citizens' money over the next few years, the downfall of the simple reviews that take place as to the activities of the management of the city through the council as it has exhibited its oversight is considerably lacking in specificity and example. The line items that provide for the need for a couple of $380,000 plows, or for 8 police cruisers at the rate of $84,000 average price per, when the City of New York police average car costs $65,000. Without written explanation as to the various items in the history of capital acquisition as to equipment, vehicles, and the cadence of maintenance and wear and tear and necessity of why these line items are needed, does not present itself before the council in the document that has been presented for tonight's meeting. If the council doesn't have a vigorous review, neither do the citizens of the city. The failure of the council time and time again to require a vigorous documentation of the necessity and the appropriateness of what comes before the council leaves the city's taxpayers to an organization of government that sits between the mayor, the city manager, and the documents that are presented to the council and public for review, which are devoid time and time the specificity to which the citizens of this city are so reliant on for good judgment. It is the opportunity to give a wage to each member of the council that holds on to their position for dear life and is willing to contest for the appropriateness of the decisions and the debate that occurs here is the good government that the citizens of this committee or this community deserve. And it has not happened. Year in and year out, and has continued to get worse despite the escalation demand for property, despite the outside influences coming into the community to benefit from that locational increase in values. And as a result, what occurs here is a city that is far from what it could be in the idealized society that we all desire as Americans. And so the consequence comes to a very simple proposition. If you believe in the better American society, you as leaders will put yourselves up to the contest in the next 30 days and ask the citizens and debate and present to the citizens of this community as to how a more informed, a more educated, a more robust council can present the issues before rather than rely on a city manager to do all the negotiations for you. Benign neglect, as the great Senator Moynihan said, represented a culture of denial. This council, in its conduct, is not much better. In this age of the internet, in the promise of America and artificial intelligence,
15 seconds.
We have before us the destiny to know that one day this will all occur. And it's your choice alone to cause it to occur sooner than later. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to comment on the capital program? Ben, is there anyone remotely that would like to join the conversation?
No hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, should I ask for a motion to close the public hearing? Motion to close the public hearing?
Motion?
Second.
I just wanted to clarify, we could keep it open for one more session, and that wouldn't jeopardize us passing it before the end of July, is that correct?
That's correct, but we're waiting on implementing parts of it. So if we could pass it, it allows us to begin the purchase of certain equipment that we need. We also are already under contract for the firehouse. So again, if we can lock down that, we've started, and we're locked into contracts that this is helping to cover.
Got it.
So again, I'm not clear what the rationale for, I mean, we've probably had 4 meetings now where we've talked about various aspects of this. The questions that you had included whether we could make the sidewalk investment a 5-year investment, which we did. Deanne had asked about the investment in the Green Street Playground, and you have a budget amendment tonight taking care of that. I'm not remembering other concerns. I think we had covered pretty much everything.
This has been discussed in open sessions before the public as well, so they'd have an opportunity to comment at public comment sessions before tonight's meeting as well as tonight's public hearing.
Yes.
So I think it's appropriate if the council wishes to do so to close the hearing tonight.
Okay.
Just need a motion and a second on that.
All right, we have a motion, I believe, from Ren and a second from Dan. Is that? So all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Okay, that's all we have is for the public hearings, and we'll have reports from the council. Want to start, Molly?
Sure. Just very quickly that I will have no office hours in July. And as we get into the summer months, I've noticed that, as several people are, that traffic is picking up along Main Street, which is great for our businesses. A reminder for those who are listening or in the audience that it's actually against the law to cross the double yellow in the center of Main Street, even if you do see the perfect parking space. And I appreciate that's sometimes hard to give up. Also, I was out in Pole Hill Park yesterday, which is the park right next to where our new firehouse is being built, and noticed that we still had some people, probably visitors, but I'll say it out loud, going south, or say north along South Avenue. It's actually just heading south now, so just to keep in mind that we had some police officers there. We still have some signs up as we transition, but to keep that in mind too if you're partaking in any of the businesses on this end of Main Street. And I will pass it to Paloma.
Thanks, Molly. I will just remind everybody that tomorrow is Election Day for the primary. As was noted by someone earlier today, there is not a contested seat in the Republican or Democratic primary here in Beacon. However, if you are a Working Families Party member, there is a primary taking place tomorrow that you can vote on, located at the Beacon Memorial Building, is your polling place in the city of Beacon.
I have nothing to report.
I'd just like to start by thanking everybody for their patience and understanding, as I've missed a few city council meetings over the last couple months, taking care of family, but I'm back for the foreseeable future and glad to be so. I am restarting my office hours for the month of July, so my office hours are typically the 3rd Sunday of the month, so my office hours will be on the 16th. Wait, did I get that right? The 16th. At Trax at 1 East Main from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. So I'll be there on the 16th from 10 to 12. And then this Wednesday, we have a very exciting event that the City Council is planning as an outcome of one of our community quarterly meetings, in which a community member proposed that we do educational programming for the public about the federal and state incentives available to people in order to replace their fossil fuel appliances and vehicles with electric versions. On Wednesday, we'll be hosting an event called How Do I Electrify, and that'll be hosted at the rec center at 7 p.m. It should be about a 90-minute meeting, and we'll have experts in when talking about federal programs, current and coming, and state programs for you to replace your gas-burning appliances and vehicles. So I hope you can be there. Thank you.
Well, I'd just like to say it's an honor this evening as the acting mayor, to bid farewell to our exiting chief. I had the great honor to serve with him all 10 years of his tenure here, so I feel really lucky to be able to sit in this seat tonight. And the only other thing, I just wanted to remind everyone that the 4th of July fireworks are going to be held this Sunday, the 10th, and hopefully it won't rain out, but if it does...
Sunday the 2nd.
2nd, at 10, or at dark.
At dark.
And would there be a rain date?
Not so far.
Not so far, okay.
Bring your
Okay, so
umbrella.
stay tuned, yeah. That's all I have. Chris, do you have anything?
You have the mayor online?
Oh, yes.
The other mayor?
The mayor.
So I just want to say thank you, George, for chairing. If for any reason you need an official request, if you're doing some swearing-ins and you need it, I hereby request that you act as mayor in my physical absence. And then also, I just want to thank the outgoing chief, Gary Friend, for his service, and that's all I got. Thank you.
Chris, anything?
I have nothing, George.
Okay. Nick, nothing? Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I will also add, because Chris didn't mention it, that the firehouse, which has kind of been slowly breaking ground, has now done the big breaking of ground, and it's great to see this project that has been a couple decades in the making actually move forward in such a way. So I'm excited to see it unfold.
Okay, so we'll move on now to local laws and resolutions. The first resolution we'll have is number 73, appointing Amanda Caputo to the position of city clerk. Chris?
You need a motion?
Oh, a motion. Yeah,
Motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Wait.
Oh, just to...
We have to say nice things about her the first, and then you can vote for her. So I get to say the nice things
Now
about
you can say
Amanda. As we discussed in a executive session where you got to speak to Amanda, and last week, Amanda's been with the city over 5 years. She was our deputy clerk for 3 years and then served just about the last year as a municipal secretary, providing staff support for the planning and zoning boards. When we began the search for a city clerk, we ended up with 90 resumes. We whittled that down to 4 finalists, and we interviewed them. And Amanda was the consensus choice of our committee. We had right here the person that was most capable, reliable, diligent, professional. And I'm thrilled that we're able to offer her this position. As you know, we've had gaps in our in not having a city clerk, and Amanda has readily filled those every time that we've asked. And I look forward to seeing what can happen now with this clerk's office under her leadership.
Well, he said earlier that all the dog owners are very happy because the dog tags are going out much quicker.
Yeah, and she's really diligently worked through the backlog of work that was left for her, while still managing the municipal secretary position.
Yeah.
And I also just want to say, the staff here find her a pleasure to work with.
Anybody else have anything to add? No? Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And the mayor?
Mary,
Lee?
you're on mute. Mary, you're on mute.
Aye, thank you very much.
And so, George, if you would do a swearing in at this point,
I'd
we'd
be
ask
honored.
Amanda to come up.
Could you raise your right hand and repeat after me? I, Amanda Caputo,
I, Amanda Caputo,
will support the Constitution of the United States
will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of city clerk.
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the city clerk.
congratulations.
Thank you. Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks again. Okay, the second resolution is number 74, appointing Trevor Wood to the position of police sergeant. Can I have a motion?
Motion? Second.
Motion by Ren, second by Molly. Chris?
And George, we have our Chief Frost coming up to say nice things about Trevor
Okay.
before we vote for him.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for your time this evening. I just want to introduce Trevor Wood to you. He's currently a detective here in the city of Beacon. He's 37 years old. Trevor was born and raised here in the city. Trevor has an associate's degree in criminal justice from the Hudson Valley Community College. He has a total of 14 years of police experience. He graduated the Ulster County Police Academy in 2009. He was employed immediately by the Village of Ellenville Police Department. While in Ellenville, Trevor assisted with Urgent, which is the Ulster County Gang Enforcement Narcotics Team, with multiple narcotic investigations, one case leading to 64 sealed indictments. Also, while employed in Ellenville, Trevor was certified as a law enforcement bicycle patrol officer and did bicycle patrols in Ellenville. In 2013, Trevor transferred to the Village of Wappingers Police Department. While working in the Village of Wappingers, he was certified as a New York State field trainer. He was also certified as a New York State instructor, a TASER instructor, and a Narcan instructor. Officer Wood was also in charge of the anti-crime unit in the Village of Wappingers, concentrating on narcotics and prostitution cases. Trevor was hired in the City of Beacon Police Department on March 14, 2016. He's been utilized as a field trainer here in our department. He's also one of our department's TASER instructors, and while he's here, we also sent him to OC instructor, which is pepper spray instructor. He's one of our department's pepper spray instructors. He's also attended autism awareness training. Trevor was assigned to Detective Bureau on January 10th, 2022. He was promoted to the rank of detective on May 8th, 2022. He has completed training in FBI basic photography, FBI crime scene photography, FBI crime scene investigation, child forensic interview, and basic juvenile investigation. Trevor is, his experience, his training, he's got a natural ability to develop rapport with just about anyone. He's earned a lot of respect amongst the members of the department, especially the junior members of the department. Well, with all that, he's reachable on the Civil Service Sergeants list. We have a sergeant retiring on July 7th, Andrew Dewey, and we're requesting to promote Trevor starting on July 9th.
And George, if I could, I just want to let the public know that Officer Wood did come to an executive session, as we do with department heads and police officers, so that you could have a conversation. And then we also did talk about his background at the last meeting as well. So this, if you're just tuning in, this wasn't the first time you all have encountered him.
Does anybody else have any questions or addition? Okay. So we'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Lee?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, congratulations.
And then we'll swear him in.
Okay. I, Trevor Wood.
I, Trevor Wood.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of police sergeant.
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of police sergeant.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on. Okay, here you go, Trevor.
Yeah, family members are welcome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
If they want me.
Sans, you're not getting out of the picture.
He's in my photo book at home.
She'll be like, who is that guy?
Hello. Hi.
Very good.
Thank you.
I'm getting some exercise.
One more.
I got a bad hip, they should be coming to me. Okay, another resolution, number 75, appointing Alyssa Rudden to the position of detective. Can I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Motion from Dan, second from Ren. Chief
Time to
Frost?
say nice things again.
Yeah.
Listen, want to come up? Okay, I'm recommending Alyssa Rudden to the position of detective. Being that Trevor Wood is the detective, being promoted to sergeant, creates a vacuum that we want Alyssa to fill. She's currently a police officer here in the city of Beacon. She's 33 years of age. She's graduated from Mount St. Mary's College in 2012 with a bachelor's in sociology with a concentration in criminology. She has a total of 8 years of police experience. She graduated the Ulster County Police Academy in 2015 and worked part-time with the town of Saugerties Police Department that year. In October of 2015, she went to the City of Poughkeepsie Police Department full-time. Alyssa was hired by the City of Beacon Police Department in May 15th of 2017. She's been utilized as a field training officer here in the city. She's also certified as an instructor in New York State, and she does the department's sexual harassment training, workplace violence training, disability awareness, and she's our second TASER instructor. Officer Rudden's also certified as a procedural justice instructor. In preparation for the detective's position, we've been sending Officer Rudden to training. She now has FBI basic photography, FBI crime scene photography, sexual assault training, basic juvenile officer's course, child forensic interview, and crime scene investigation. She has actually been assisting in the Detective Bureau since May of last year. We've had a couple injuries. One was long-term, one short-term injury in the Detective Bureau. That was her daughter's competing with me, and so we were kind of short in the Detective Bureau, and she helped out a lot on that. And so again, recommending Alyssa for the position of detective.
We'll swear you both in. Come on, she needs an assistant. You gonna help? Yeah, you help.
Yeah. Okay, Chris, do you have anything to, in addition?
No, I would just say we're so glad to promote from the department, and I know Alyssa's been doing this job for more than a year, filling in for another detective, and the chief has had nothing but good things to say.
That's great.
So,
anybody else?
cute kids are extra points.
It's good for the pictures.
All right.
Okay, well then, all in favor?
Aye. And this is the last time you have to get up.
Yeah.
And I vote yes.
Yes. And anyone opposed? Okay, congratulations. Can you raise your right hand? Yeah. I, Alyssa Rudden. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of New York.
And the Constitution of the State of New York.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of police detective.
And I will faithfully discharge the duties of police detective.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You proud of your mother?
Just like nobody look at me.
Congratulations, thank you.
Thank you.
George, can we do a quick photo?
Sure, yep. Come on up.
Yeah, come on. Okay, ready? Yeah, good. Very good, thank you. And it's customary for us to say you don't have to sit through the rest of the meeting. So thank you all, and thanks for supporting these. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's getting quiet.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
You can come this way if you want.
Amanda went out that way. She'll figure it out.
Okay, next will be Resolution Number 76, authorizing the city administrator to execute an extension agreement with Royal Carting Service Company for waste collection. I believe Nick will, or can I have a motion?
Motion?
Second?
Motion by Paloma, second by Dan. And Nick?
Thank you, Mayor. So the city has an existing contract with Royal Carting for the collection of solid waste and recyclable materials. That contract expires at the end of this year. The city administration has negotiated a renewal of that contract for an additional year to expire December 31st, 2024, upon the same existing terms as the 2023 contract, which, given inflation of the rates, as we discussed in the work session, is a good term for the city. So before you is a resolution authorizing the city administrator to sign that contract extension for one additional year.
I'll just want to add to what Paloma mentioned at our workshop last week, that I'm looking forward to roughly a year from now, whenever the appropriate point is next year, to have a more full conversation just about garbage and recycling and what our options might be moving forward.
Would anybody else like to add anything? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, resolution passed. Resolution number 77, awarding the Community Investment Program funding. Chris, can I have a motion?
Motion?
Second?
Motion by Molly, second by Paloma. Chris?
Sure. So as we discussed at last week's workshop when our Recreation Director, Mark Price, came, this is a grant program that the city created in 2022 and funded with $20,000 a year to help support community organizations in providing services or expanding what they do in Beacon. Last year, the City Council scored this and then asked that we reconstitute the Recreation Advisory Committee and that they could take on the scoring this year. Earlier, maybe about 6 weeks ago, we added people to that committee. They met and they considered the 14 proposals that were submitted under the grant program. They came up with a list of the top 4, which were Cornell Cooperative Extension, Dutchess County, Beacon Volunteer Ambulance Company, I think it is, BVAC, Compass Arts, and American Legion Post 203. So tonight you have the recommendation, and this would award each of them a recommended grant amount, and we would then go into contract with them and assign the grant.
And just for the record, the American Legion, that's not part of the City of Beacon, is that correct?
The American Legion is a separate entity from the City of Beacon. We own the building. However, they do a lot of programming at the building that we don't pay anything for. So they have, for instance, they've put in their own kitchen to serve some of the events that they do there. The city didn't pay anything for that equipment. They just redid the whole front of the building with new landscaping, in part with a member item from the state senate. So again, they came to us and they said, you know, this is something we're having trouble to pay for because we've just made these other investments. Could you help do that so that we have something for community events when they do Memorial Day or Veterans Day or other events? So it really is an enhancement to the building that the city would not do otherwise, and it's being granted directly to the veterans.
Yeah, and it's not a capital improvement to the building itself.
No, it's not. It is a very, you know, again, I don't know what the life of a sound system is, but it's not a capital improvement that we would consider in our capital program.
It is an interesting question, though, and you know, we have a particular relationship with American Legion. We also have a particular relationship with BVAC, wherein they provide services to the city, and the city, in turn, provides support for them. And this grant lies outside of the sort of regular agreement that we have with both of these entities. And I would be curious, perhaps, to have the Recreation Committee before we go out for applications next year, to sort of clarify that criteria moving forward, if there is any sort of guidelines that we want to make around these sort of special relationships that we have with certain entities in the city. I don't see any conflict personally with either of these grants to either of these entities, which are obviously incredible assets to the city, but I think it would be helpful to clarify next year for everybody's edification.
One other thing I'll add for those who were listening to our conversation last week about asking for those recipients to come to talk to us publicly, that I think the approach that we're hoping to take is roughly this time next year when they would do a report from us on their funding, that we would invite them to come back. It wouldn't be a requirement, but something that hopefully they would get a chance both to talk about how they spent these city dollars and also hopefully talk about the program and the services opportunities they're offering to our residents. So just wanted to add that in for those who might be curious about any resolution to that conversation.
Would anybody else like to add anything? If not, all in favor? Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Resolution passed. Next is resolution number 78, authorizing amendments to the 2023 general fund budget. And Chris will, can I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Molly, second by Dan. Chris?
So we have 3 amendments to the 2023 operating budget. The first is to transfer $25,000 from the contingency fund to repair of equipment. This was for emergency repairs to our ladder truck. At last week's meeting, I was asked what the age of that truck was, and I confirmed it's a 2015, so it's 8 years old. You have also asked me in the past for a tracking of contingency, and this would bring our contingency down to $140,000. So we're halfway through the year, and we're 42% through our contingency. So we're doing okay. We also have some unanticipated revenues that you'll see later on, like from the film permits, to cover some of the other things. Any questions on the first one? The second one is another part of Gary, Chief Van Voorhis' legacy. Gary found out that there was a healthcare bonus for emergency first responders and related to COVID that was in the state budget. He was able to submit for this and get approximately $3,000 per employee to cover our firefighters, all of whom are EMTs, emergency medical technicians, and who are often the first ones at a medical emergency. This isn't an exact number because they also prorated it based on certain new members vesting, so some of them get the partial. So we'll be moving $50,057 from state aid, which comes directly from the state, and putting it into this health worker bonus, which just is a pass-through to our workers without any administrative deduction. The final piece is for repair of real property in the parks. Last year, we resurfaced the basketball courts at Green Street Park. We still needed to do painting of the court, including lines and a pickleball court and, very colorful painting. So we are transferring $15,500 from film permits that we didn't budget, and that is now covering these improvements in the park. And one of the things I'm trying to do is directly link things that, like the film permits do, in theory, inconvenience people in the community, and I'm trying to put those funds right back into quality of life improvements. So this is part of that. And that work is going to be done very shortly if this is approved.
I just want to take a second to thank Chris for the work that he and Mickey and his team have done at Green Street Park, fitting in the paving of the court last fall with milling and paving, and moving so quickly with the striping. I just really appreciate it. It's really exciting. Thanks.
Thank you. So all three of these are in your general fund budget.
Okay, if there's no further additions to the discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Resolution passed. Okay, now we have another community segment, and this is an update from our building inspector, Bruce Flower, regarding short-term rental law enforcement. So, Bruce, you want to come up?
And if I could just give a little context, last year we were offered a grant through Dutchess County to pay for the lion's share of a new software application that helps us identify the addresses of short-term rentals that are listed on sites like Airbnb, VRBO. It actually monitors 50 different sites. That was set up so that they could identify from whom to collect the bed tax. But it also was going to help us identify apartments that were in houses that were listed that were not licensed, and also identify ones that couldn't be licensed because they don't fit within the parameters of our law. So we asked Bruce, who came on about 4 months ago, is it?
No, it's been 8 months now.
8 months.
8 months.
Time flies when we're having fun. Bruce has been doing the enforcement of that, and we asked him to come tonight. 8 months, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's October.
And he's going to give you an update on some of the numbers so far. And it's a work in progress, so we will, from time to time, bring Bruce back for updates on this.
Okay, so as Chris had mentioned, through Granicus, that's the company that basically checks the internet to look at all these different venues for people to post the short-term rentals. We've had quite a bit of activity. Actually, they keep checking on a regular basis. At any time, we can go look and see and get basically an update off of their dashboard to kind of give us an idea of where things are. As of today, I did check on things before the meeting. Currently, there looks to be 141 total listings, both short-term and long-term listings. So anybody that posts, whether or not it's a less than 30 days, would be considered a short-term. And then if somebody decides to post for 30 days or more, that also gets picked up. But it doesn't get flagged as a as a potential violation for us to track down. So out of those 141 listings, they have identified, actually given us addresses and linked it up with the assessor's records for 94 different units, 79 of which are in single-family homes. Actually, yeah, and actually, these are rough numbers. The 94 were identified, but of the other 100, out of the total 141, 79 are in single-family homes, and the other 45 are in multifamily homes. 10 of which of the 141 are considered long-term rentals, and there's 37 of them out there that they just haven't been able to put an address to yet.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. 10 of which are what?
10 of which are long-term rentals. So
Okay.
those are the ones that are 30 days or more. Okay. So basically, my office had started doing some enforcement using this program back in December. We had sent out a bunch of letters between December 12th and January 23rd. We actually sent out 87 violation notices. Of the 87, we received 42 applications, 20 of which were approved, 17 were denied, and 15 are still pending. We're looking for additional information. Of the additional information, we're just trying to verify that they actually, the people actually live in the property, and that they're not actually living somewhere else and just renting this out as a short-term rental and then using it for themselves once in a while when they want to come to Beacon. So that's taken up quite a bit of time. And then overall, I know according to the law, we're supposed to post a list of all the approved short-term rentals. And we started working on that this week, or actually last week, just going through our records to make sure that we had everything set up, because we have to also look at the expiration dates, because some of these were approved prior to our enforcement. Actually, 20 of them were prior to this year, 32 of them in total. So we had, sorry, I got my numbers confused here. There's 32 in total. There's 12 that were prior to this year, and then 20 which we just approved this year. So, and again, that number is going to hopefully continually change as we have more people coming in and actually answering the notices. Over the last few months, it's gotten very busy downstairs. Obviously, you know, Amanda was filling in upstairs with the city clerk's office, so some of the things that happened downstairs kind of got pushed aside. Hopefully, within the next couple of months, you know, we'll be back up with a full staff in the office, and then we can get back to kind of following up on a lot of these. As we have discussion with Granicus, we're trying to understand their contract a little better as well. It was our understanding that they're supposed to send out a notice every 30 days until the property becomes compliant. Apparently that hasn't been taking place at this point. So we have a request into Granicus to have them follow up to find out why this isn't happening, number one, or if it's something that we need to do, we're going to make sure that we get it done so that we can have them continually notice the people that, you know, that haven't responded as of yet. At some point, probably after a third notice is given, we're probably going to have to start bringing some people to court. Because if they just keep ignoring the notices, yeah, it's pretty much our last resort. We'll have to bring them, you know, we'll have to issue them appearance tickets, and they'll have to come, you know, come to court and I guess basically explain why they haven't responded to anything. If they do, hopefully, you know, we can get them, you know, on track. If not, it will be the judge's decision of where it goes. So, with that, that's pretty much an overview of where we stand today. Does anybody have any questions regarding the program, the short-term program?
Yeah. If you don't mind, I have a couple. So you said you're getting ready to, when things settle down, you're going to do another round of notices?
Yeah, as soon as I can, yes.
Cool. And so the notices are coming from your department, or they're coming from Granicus? I didn't quite understand. The letters are coming from where?
Granicus mails them out on our behalf.
I see, okay.
So we prepare the letter, on our letterhead, and they basically fill in the data,
Mhm.
raw data. The owner's name, address, the grid number, and they cite the section out of the zoning code that they're in violation of. They send out those notices, and then through the program, we get copied on that as well.
Mhm.
So we can see exactly what was sent. If for some reason they're undeliverable, they end up getting sent right here to City Hall.
Okay.
So we get them, and then we'll have to follow up after that to try to get a corrected address.
Mhm. And, sorry, I don't remember the exact terms of enforcement in the law, but my recollection was that there was a daily fine for every day not in compliance. How is the daily fine being administered?
Well, again, once it gets to that point where we actually issue an appearance ticket, that fine then would come into play.
Mhm.
We would have to basically provide some type of documentation to the court, every day that they haven't come into compliance. So it's basically just adding information to our documents that we prepare for the court, and then it's up to the judge how they want to proceed.
Okay. Thanks, Bruce. And I just have one last question. There's obviously we want to have the short-term rentals registered. We want to have them owner occupied, but we do have a provision in the law that a family can put their home up as a short-term rental for 100 days or less. And I just want to make sure that that's being enforced as well. Do you know that Granicus is picking those up somehow?
Yeah, that portion of it's a little awkward because not all the time do we get the information of when the actual short-term rental is actually being rented out.
Mhm.
There is some documentation that when those transactions go through Airbnb, sometimes the vendor that's checking on them for us, they're able to supply us with that information as well. But it's not on every one of them, And the other problem is too, is there's a lot of people who put they'll post it on the website, and then they'll take it down, and then they'll repost it as with a different, under a different advertisement. And then it just kind of makes it hard to kind of track those numbers. So as much as they try to gather that information, sometimes it might be hard to prove out the 100 days.
I see. Okay. Well, I've just encouraged
But
you to
but
do what
we're
you can.
we'll make every attempt we can
Thank you.
to hold them to that. Yes.
I would imagine this entails, particularly when you start going to court, that it'll entail a lot of manpower and hours from your office
Yes.
dedicated to that. And I was wondering if we take advantage of the opportunity to impose a hotel tax, would those monies be able to be applied to additional manpower?
So we're in the process of hiring 2 staff. I had hoped to bring one of them tonight, and we're just not there. So I don't want to wait till the hotel tax, because you have to go through the creation of a local law to impose that, and there's a lag time. We think we can come up with a scenario that allows us to add a deputy building inspector that I hope to bring to you in July, and then backfill Amanda's municipal secretary position. So we have at least 2 new hires that we want to bring into the department, and Susan and I think we figured out how to fund the building, at least the part-time deputy building inspector for the rest of the year. She's done a good job of investing our cash, so we have some interest that can cover that position.
Right.
Yes.
In terms of people power, what percentage of your work is over the 8 months that you've been with us has been dedicated to short-term rental enforcement, would you say?
Unfortunately, it's probably been, of the overall time, anywhere between 5 and 10%. Unfortunately, right now, building has, been booming in Beacon. Scott, who also works in the office, he's been dealing with some of the short-term rental inspections and, vetting out some of the applications as well. But I haven't had a lot of time to really, spend on the program itself. I've had Jamie, who's one of the clerks in the office, and she's spent a lot of time actually with putting everything together to get the notices out And actually, she's the one that's directly working with Granicus. So she's been following up with them and trying to get to the bottom of the issue with the notices going out. So, but things have been, more so lately, it's been tough because I'm sharing Amanda, as the city clerk. And it kind of puts more work back on Jamie's desk just to keep things moving. So we've been kind of juggling things around and haven't been able to spend a lot of attention on this.
And along the same lines, can you speak to the integrity of the data that you're getting from Granicus, and in addition to integrity, the user friendliness of it? How much of is the software good? Do you like it? Could it be better?
I mean, it's good. It's serving its purpose. It's providing us the information. We're able to download data from them and then kind of merge it into forms if we need to. We actually did that with some of the denial letters that I had put together when we had gotten the first batch of applications in. Jamie had downloaded the data for everybody that had been identified, whittled out all the people that didn't respond, but then all the people that were there, she kind of worked it out so that she can fill out the form letters with the violation of whichever sections of the code, and basically either it was a denial or it was just asking them for more information, more documentation, just to prove the things that we needed to do to be compliant. So it is serving its purpose. It's not an automatic process. It's not like we can integrate it with our building department software. It's just something that we have to kind of make work at this point. Yeah.
Thanks, Bruce.
I've met a couple of people that were denied the application, and I'm sure it's not always the case, but those that I did meet and speak to, they were obviously disappointed that they've gotten into the habit of this, but all of them recognize the value of it and why we're trying to do it and why we established this law. So I appreciate the reasoning, even though it might change people's home economics and plans for. They recognize that the potential negative impact on the community left free. So appreciate the efforts.
It's it's difficult when you have to deny them for it, but it's something that unfortunately the law doesn't allow. So, but that's up to that would also be up to the board if you guys ever wanted to change that to allow certain things. But right now, it's it's pretty well. It's a hosting law more or less. It's only allowing people to rent rooms within their own personal dwelling unit. So it's not like they could take apartments and accessory dwellings and use those for STRs.
As a follow-up to that, are there any buildings that you come across in Beacon where the configuration of that building makes it a little gray or unclear as to whether or not it truly is a separate apartment and therefore would not qualify under our law?
There was a couple that did come up because it's basically, we look at it as a dwelling unit as having its own separate kitchen, its own separate facilities to provide housing for somebody, independent of the other house. And sometimes we've come across some that, that the kitchens are kind of very vague. It's not like they have some have had ovens and stoves and refrigerators, microwaves. Others just, they don't have any real cooking equipment other than a microwave and possibly a small refrigerator. But it's directly connected to the other dwelling unit. So it's not like it's a separate apartment. So we've had some, like I said, we've had all different kinds of conditions, but as long as they don't have that separate, that separate kitchen, we're pretty much, allowing it to go through. To be used.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no. the other one's tough too is some of the multifamily properties because it's usually when we get the applications, usually it's a tenant. So the tenant's making application with a letter from the owner of the building, giving them authorization to go ahead and rent it. And sometimes it's hard to get documentation from the tenant to prove that they live there. So, leases, sometimes people are reluctant to give us copies of their lease or copies of utility bills showing that they're paying, either a cable bill or some type of electric bill, and showing the address as being the apartment that they're looking to rent out. So sometimes those get a little awkward too for us.
Yeah, I was going to ask, kind of, what are the examples of where it's hard to prove that that's their primary residence? Is it mainly with renters? Are there any challenges with owners, or owners because of property taxes, it's a little more clear-cut?
It's both. I mean, the owners more so, because the owners don't understand. I mean, they take a look at the law, and sometimes they're reading it, and they're thinking that, well, in the findings in the beginning, it says, that they're allowed to, that these are allowed to be in multifamily buildings, or, 2-family, 3-family homes. But they're not understanding that, as you go further down into the law, it's basically prohibiting it. It's basically limiting it to only with the dwelling unit which you live in. And that becomes hard, as people are looking for that income on a short-term basis instead of just renting it out for, a year or two at a time. But it's, again, it becomes, a little difficult. But they eventually understand. We kind of try to clear it up as much as possible.
Is there anything we could do to clarify the law or make it easier to enforce? Language? Or?
It might be a little bit, maybe some minor language changes in the future. As I go forward, as I spend a little more time with this, I'm going to try to keep track of a bunch of things, not only just the short-term rental, but there's some of the other different things. Actually, your attorney has asked me to keep a book. Because anytime I come across something that it doesn't look right or doesn't make sense, is if you just kind of jot some notes in there, and at some point in the future we'll sit down and kind of go through it, and I guess after I discuss it with him, I guess maybe we'll present it back to the council. And maybe if you guys feel comfortable changing it, we'll change it.
Well, yeah. I mean, once the law leaves our desks and it goes out in the real world, then we know how it works. So
yep.
Your input is invaluable.
Yeah, I'm hoping in the near future, I said, if I can get another deputy downstairs to kind of help me out, that'll give me some more time within the office, to try to kind of handle some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been kind of, all over the place. I'm just trying to keep everything above water right now.
Right.
Yeah.
It's only been 4 months.
I may not remember he was here 8 months, but he's been doing a fantastic job. I just want to say the amount of work that I see that office doing is incredible. And Bruce sits through the very long planning board meetings, the zoning board meetings. Our prior building inspector didn't go to those meetings, and it's really helpful to have that cross-communication and participation in those meetings. Right. So he's put in a lot of long days that we have holidays here. I know he's been in his office reading plans. Mm-hmm. So we'll get you resourced, and thank you for
I know. It just
a
takes,
wonderful
I know it takes
4
time.
to 8 months.
Well, unless anyone else has any other questions, we really appreciate your presence here and the job that you're doing to enforce these laws and everything you're doing for us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks,
All
Bruce.
right.
Thanks, Bruce.
All right, you're welcome.
All right, minutes.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Do we have a motion? Do we have to do a motion to approve the minutes? Or do we just? Yes.
Motion.
Motion. Molly. Second. By Ren. Anyone have any issues? Molly?
No, there's nothing I noticed in these minutes.
I'm saying in executive session, the motion, there is no space between there and from, unless therefrom is a word. I think maybe it should be therefore.
Where's that?
Motion to go into executive session regarding personnel, legal, and contract matters, and to adjourn therefrom with no further business.
To be fair, Ben, I might have actually said therefrom. I could imagine that.
I like the word therefrom.
It's a legal word, don't worry.
Word, that's great. I just didn't know it was.
But, yeah.
I think that is a legal word, right?
Whereas, wherefore, whence. There's lots of good legal words.
And therefrom?
Yep.
It's one word.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
Stand corrected, your corrections.
Way to bring back
corrected.
there from.
Hey, I was open to just not knowing a word. Wow.
That was good trivia.
Yeah, we learned something.
There you go. Well, now I'm definitely going to take credit for it then.
Therefore, you will take credit.
Therefore, I will take credit for it then.
And we have an executive session this evening.
Okay, but first, let's approve the minutes. Everyone, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Minutes approved. And could we have a motion to go into executive session regarding
Litigation.
litigation? After which we will not perform any other
You mean
duties.
therefrom?
Therefrom.
Will perform- No.
Would anyone?
Thereafter.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
Motion to go into executive session to discuss litigation and therefrom discuss no further business.
And adjourn.
And adjourn.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, well, thanks, everybody.
Just need to call the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Anyone opposed?
And Lee, you have a link for that.
Thank you very much.
We didn't
Stay
open
dialogue.
the